Hi, I'm Jim and I was retired. This week I'm going to review a little history of this channel for new subscribers. I began this channel in 2021 after completing 5 years of forced early retirement to share the lessons I've learned with others. And since YouTube tells me there are several hundred new subscribers in the past 90 days, I'm going to pause and review some of the history and the key lessons about crash landing and early retirement. Stay tuned. So, no spreadsheets this week. I'm just going to review the history of my channel and the key steps that I believe you can take in your 50s to make your retirement more resilient, and the three key steps that I took when that retirement came sooner than I expected. A little personal history. I was 1 month before my 59th birthday when suddenly on a Thursday at 4 p.m. afternoon in HR, I was retired, handed 2 boxes, and sent home. And at that age, approaching 59 and near the top of my career, I knew I was never going to get another job like that due to ageism. However, I also knew that I had taken the right steps in my 50s to prepare for a crash landing of my retirement. Number one, I had built a cash cushion of up to 3 years of expenses. Now, I was putting 2 kids through college, so cash on hand was always helpful to help pay the tuition bills. But as luck would happen, I just got that decision that I was retired a couple months before the last tuition check was cashed for my daughter. And so that college education period was over, and I had about 3 years worth of our expenses, the parents' expenses, left. And that was a good cash cushion for this crash landing. Now, just like in a crash landing, and that oxygen mask comes down, and they say, put that mask on yourself before helping others. When you reach this decision that you've crash landed your retirement, you need to think that way. And so I'm proud that I put my 2 kids through their undergraduate college, but I was not going to spend any more of what I had saved for our future on them. I had let them know that let their next employer fund a graduate course. Dad can't do that. Now, the other thing we had going for us was that I had no debt. My wife and I had made a very early decision that we would always pay off credit cards. In fact, it was her idea. I had to pay off my credit cards before the marriage date, and I did. And ever since then, we used credit cards and paid them off at the end of each month. And car loans, we tried as much as possible to keep them on the shorter end or pay cash later for cars and avoid car loans. And on our mortgage, we doubled up on mortgage payments early in our career so that we could get rid of the private mortgage insurance and build up equity. But as time went on, we renegotiated that mortgage from a 30-year to a 15-year. And then that 15-year, we didn't double payment on that, but we did decide at an opportune time just before starting my last job that a cash influx allowed us to pay off the mortgage in 2008. And in that financial crisis, that was probably the best decision I could make for a fixed income investment, was to pay off the remaining mortgage so I wasn't saddled with that debt anymore. Now, having no debt also allowed me to do the third thing I did in my 50s, and that is max out retirement savings opportunities. Now, that is key if you're going to build up a resilient retirement. Cash cushion, no debt, and max out those retirement savings opportunities. After you're 50, you have opportunities in your 401k, for instance, to do catch up contributions. You should be doing those. Plus, if you have any other added savings opportunities like deferred compensation plans or after-tax savings into your 401k, or even better than that, a Roth 401k, use those opportunities to put cash aside for the future you. Now, after I was crash landed with my retirement, I came home with those 2 boxes, and I was pretty sure because of the monitoring that I've been doing of my retirement savings that I had enough. And so I came home and said to my wife that I'm done. I think it's over. And she said, "Are you sure?" And we took time, because I had the cash cushion, to go visit 3 financial advisors to get financial plans drawn up. Now, in each of these cases, I didn't pay for these financial plans. And that is a fallacy about fiduciary advisors. You must pay them. You're your own fiduciary. Trust your advisors. Take it with a grain of salt, but you can get free advice. Now, in my crash landing of the retirement, I had a financial advisor connected with the 401k at my last employer. And as part of the employee benefits, and I had those for a number of weeks after I left employment, I was able to use them to draw up a retirement plan and go over pension choices and what to do with the 401k. That was one plan, and they said I had enough. The second plan was a life insurance agent that we used, and I went to him mainly to shut off any other insurance that I no longer needed because I wasn't replacing income. But he said, "Let me do a financial plan for you." And again, I'm not obligated to buy a product from him just to take the advice. He drew up a great plan that showed me the income flows and expenses that I could expect over my retirement. And then the third was a Schwab broker, and I used Schwab and their online tools to develop the third retirement plan. Those 3 plans all said I had enough. But one key ingredient that we needed to do quickly was to figure out exactly what the retirement budget would be. You need to get a budget. Now, I had been using Quicken for a long time, but I was kind of lazy at it. And when credit card bills came in, I put it in miscellaneous rather than taking the time to split the transactions into the right categories. So I had to go over about 3 years worth of spending to figure out exactly what my bottom-up budget for retirement would be. Now, I was able to eliminate some things like transportation and dry cleaning of suits. No need for that in retirement. But that detailed work on a budget helped you come up with a firm number of what you're going to use. Now, some experts say just use 80% of what your salary was. Well, rough rules of thumb like that are all thumbs in planning. Build up a budget from the bottom up and figure out exactly what you need in your retirement. Now, the second thing we needed to do was figure out healthcare expenses, particularly if you're crash landing a retirement before Medicare age. Now, Cobra is not the best choice. It's the one I went with, but clearly looking backwards, it was not the right choice. I should have gone to the Affordable Care Act plans sooner rather than Cobra. Cobra is very expensive. You're paying your share and the employer's share plus an administrative fee on top, and it's really expensive. ACA, particularly since I was living off of savings, I could keep my income low. ACA with premium subsidies is clearly the better choice. But you need to take time to figure out where your health care is going to come from if you are crash landing your retirement before Medicare. Now, the third thing I needed to do when I crash landed the retirement was to come up with a retirement withdrawal strategy. Now, the 3 financial plans were a starting point, but I needed to take a look at our assets and decide what I was going to use. Now, at approaching 59, or at 59 when the plans were all done, I also had available to me the assets in my 401k under the rule of 55. If you are 55 and over, you are allowed to use the last retirement plan's assets before 59 and a half. Now, as it turned out, I had enough of my cash accounts in the banks not to worry about the half a year I would have to wait for all of my retirement savings. But I needed to figure out which ones I was going to tap and which order I was going to tap them in. And when you do that, you also need to make some decisions about, are you getting a pension? And when will you get that pension? If you wait till 65, in my case, you got the full pension that you were entitled to. Now, it wasn't much because I had only been at the last job for 7 years, but it was enough. I was fully vested in a pension, and it would be the most it would be if I waited until 65. And so we made a decision to wait for 65 for the pension. Now, the third thing you had to do is figure out what the Social Security strategy would be for my wife and I. If you're suddenly retired, you need to come up with a decision quickly about whether you will wait for your earliest opportunity to file for Social Security, which is 62, your full retirement age, or 70 for maximum benefits. And if you follow this channel enough, you know that I'm waiting for 70. It's a decision I'm making after a lot of analysis to wait for 70. My wife will be almost 67 at that point. She will wait for 67 to get her maximum spousal benefits. But that puts us in a position so that we have a lifelong benefit for both of us that will go up with COLAs. Half of my pension has a COLA, the other half doesn't. But Social Security will have a COLA. So that's important to us to wait for that maximum benefit. Now, once you have that known and your expenses, then you figure out how much you strategically need to withdraw from retirement savings, everything else, until the pension and Social Security start. Now, there are a lot of people out there with the 4% rule. Well, first of all, it's not a rule, it's a guideline, and it doesn't always apply in your case, particularly if you're going to be spending money on health insurance before Medicare and you're purposely waiting for pension and Social Security. You might go over 4%. But if you work out strategic withdrawals and map it out over your retirement, you'll find that after pension and Social Security start, you'll be far less than 4%. And that's where a rule, 4% and inflated every year, is a clumsy way of building a withdrawal strategy. Better yet, go for what you need to withdraw each year. All of that factors into a retirement withdrawal strategy, and you need to get one if you find yourself suddenly retired like I did. Hey, please like and subscribe to this channel if you like entertaining ideas from a DI retiree. I don't have any courses to sell you. I'm not a professional, and I am not trying to manage your money. I'm just trying to share ideas from my retirement that might help yours. I will conclude with my standard warning. I am not a professional planner. I have no initials after my name. So take these as entertaining ideas from one educated consumer to another. Always do your own due diligence and seek out a professional if you need one. See you next week.